and YouTube. So here we are. Yes. Okay. Yeah, we're live. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do today. I am with the myth, the man, the legend, the B2B monster, Shrikant. Is it Shrikant? I'm really bad at pronouncing names.
It's Shrikant, but I go by Shri. As you know, we've been friends for 3 years plus. Yeah, so
okay.
Shri is easier for everybody.
You know, I'm from Arkansas, so we don't know how to pronounce names down there, right? So, all right. So you're in a real treat today because we're going to interview this client, Shri, who went from making $6,000 to $7,000 a month in commissions to making over $50,000 a month in commissions, month in and month out. And he sold and he kept selling the same thing, kept working for the exact same company. Okay. And so we're going to talk a little bit about your background because I want to know how this all started. And then we're going to break down your sales process and how you're using NEPQ to completely dominate your industry and really help your clients find problems they didn't think they had and help them actually solve those. Okay. So this is going to be interesting today. Now, if you're brand new to our Facebook group, now I know that when we go live, sometimes people on YouTube are going to see us, my personal Facebook, people in our Facebook group, Sales Revolution, are going to see us. Even people now on Instagram are probably going to see some of this as well. So if you want to join our private Facebook group where we give away a ton of training and I go live 4 or 5 times in a week, I'm going to have, let's see, Erica here or Chris maybe drop in a Sales Revolution join link, and you can just click on it and join our Facebook group if you want us to help you more. Now, if you're brand new to our lives and you're wondering like who the hell this guy is, like what's this guy in this dorky looking polo shirt coming live? You know, you got the cool shirt on. I've just got the little polo here, but I'm the founder and chairman of an organization, a company called Seventh Level. And what we do is we help people exactly like you watching. We help sales professionals, coaches, sales managers, executives, leaders, business owners, and we help you transform the way you sell by learning how to use human behavior in your sales process. Now, what does that mean? Learning specific skilled questions that work with human behavior rather than against it. That's a big, important difference. These are called neuro-emotional persuasion questions. Stands for NEPQ. Now, it's not just the questions. We have to teach you the right tonality that puts your prospects at ease, eliminate sales pressure from the conversation, and actually get your prospects to want to engage with you, to want to open up to you, and actually persuade and sell themselves. What a novel idea. Now, along the way, if you want to learn more details about how we can help you sell a lot more of your products and services that you are now, we only have almost 3,000 testimonials in the last 2 years. We have 2,813. We've already had 5 new ones come in this morning. I always look at those. If you want to be like that, in the comments section, if you want more details about our training programs, about how we can help you sell more of your products and services so you can make more money, in the comment section, just post hashtag NEPQ. So just post hashtag NEPQ. And either myself or someone on my team will actually message you more details to see if we can help you as well. Now, if you're on the live right now, here's what I'm going to have you do. I want you to post hashtag live. So if you're on live right now, post hashtag live. And if you're on the replay, I want you to post hashtag replay. So if you're on live, post hashtag live. If you're on the replay, post hashtag replay. Now, also, I want each of you to smash the heart button. So I want you to smash the heart button several times. And I want each of you to smash the like button. So smash the heart button, smash the like button. The reason why we do that is it creates more engagement in the group, our Facebook group, Sales Revolution. This reaches more people in our audience, even on YouTube, and it allows more people to get help while we break down the sales process of Shri, who's making over $50,000 a month in commissions. It's a massive story. All right. Now, Shri, let's get to you, the good stuff. How are you doing out there, man?
Doing well here in California. So summer is right around the corner. People are outside walking their dogs. You see people at coffee shops now, at delis.
Holy cow, you guys are open. We've only been open here in Missouri for a whole year now. Where you been? You guys hiding in your basement over there? What's going on?
I don't know. Yeah, it's the life of California, I guess. You win some, you lose some over here.
I guess you lose your money to taxes. But anyways,
Yeah,
here
you
we
do.
go. All right, so let's get to you because I want to hear a little bit of your background and story about how you got involved in NEPQ training and kind of what it's done for you. But then, at least half of this call and more, I want to break down your sales process and what questions you're using that we've trained you to use in our training programs, our NEPQ training programs and Advanced Inner Circle that have caused you to go from like 6-7 grand a month to 50,000 a month in commissions, because that's a big difference in payday. If you're going to pay a lot in taxes, you might as well make a lot more, right? You have more of the pie to work with. All right, so tell us a little bit about it. When did you get involved in sales? Let's just go back to your background.
So I was an investment banker on Wall Street before, ever since I was 22, right when I graduated from college.
Yeah.
I finally found the light and went into sales at the age of 35. So over 10 years later. So in 2013, I had my first stint in sales, and I was an account executive for a internet or marketing analytics company here in the Bay Area.
Okay, and how did you sell? Like, what type of sales techniques were you taught to use? Like, what was going on? Because you didn't start out making 50 grand a month. So what happened?
Yeah. It was back then, it was whatever I threw against the wall, I would go home and pray and kind of see if something stuck. And if it did, I would celebrate. And if it didn't, which in most times it didn't, right, I would be disappointed and try again and try again and try again until I got frustrated and disappointed. And, most of my days were those days where I would call and nobody would pick up, or
so you were basically winging it. Okay, so you were winging it, talking about the products and the features and the benefits of what you had to offer, and you have the best this and the best that, hoping and praying that something you said would just magically cause people to want to buy. I always call that, it's a drug. I always call that hopium. It's a drug that so many salespeople are on, where they just hope and pray that something they're going to say is going to trigger the prospect to magically want to buy. And it's such a hard and unpredictable way to make an income. Like, how can you provide for your family when you're just out winging it all the time? Right?
I bought a lot of that drug.
You bought a lot of that hopium drug. All right. So you're on the hopium drug. And how did you find us? How did you find NEPQ 3 years ago?
So, I got fed up one day. I wanted to do something about my deficiency in learning how to be a better salesperson. And, my managers and their managers, they don't know sales any better than I did. They basically started off thinking that it was a numbers game, and they taught me the more dollars you make, the harder you work, you'll start to become better at this.
So they gave you the hustle muscle. Like, if you work 10 or 12 hours a day instead of 8, that you're just going to magically triple your sales somehow.
Oh, definitely. The more dials, the more calls, the more meetings you take, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. And I believed it.
Yeah. So you got frustrated. And then how did you find the training 3 years ago?
I got frustrated, and I would come into the office on the weekends, and I would look for sales programs that would help me be a better sales rep. Like, what is the secret? And I don't know what happened, but one day you showed up on my Facebook feed. All right. And I don't know if it was your good looks or your hair or whatever it was. I decided to click on that advertisement, and it was the 21-day sales challenge that you had way back in 2000.
That was like the beginning level product. Yeah. And there wasn't even really any training.
Like, hey, look, this is affordable. This is quick. I'll know in 21 days if this works or not. And you broke it down into small little chunks, which made
I think that was like a 2-hour beginning level course where we basically talked about how selling has changed, the consumer's changed. And then I just gave you a few pointers, but nothing really magical.
Oh, no, nothing like that. But it was a great way to get me intrigued. And so I enrolled for that 21-day sales challenge. And I started listening to your tidbits were about 2 or 3 minutes. And even though that it was just 2 or 3 minutes, there was such valuable information and content in that I decided to actually, go on to enroll in the 8-week academy, and then the one-on-one and the 3.0. And, I've been a student ever since.
Yeah, you've been a student ever since. And then, you got into like our beginning level 8-week academy. We don't even offer that product anymore. That was a beginning level, like 8-hour course. It was good. Then you got into
Yep.
our like advanced inner circle that we had at that time. It's quite a bit different now at this point with what we've added. And you got that advanced training. And where did your income? Well, first of all, how did your prospects start reacting to you differently than they were before?
They seemed like they wanted to talk to me.
Why?
To be honest. Because I was detaching myself from the process of making the sale through the questions I was asking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big difference. Now, here's what we all have to understand. I'm going to give everybody a little golden nugget right here before we start breaking down Shree's sales process, okay, that we've taught him. Within the first 10 seconds of any sales interaction that you have, and that doesn't matter if you sell B2B, if you sell B2C, if you sell door-to-door, if you sell over Zoom, inbound leads, outbound leads, cold calling, in a boardroom meeting, it doesn't matter. The first 10 seconds of any sales action you have with another human being, your prospects subconsciously, this is how our brain works, are picking up on verbal and nonverbal cues from you based on your tonality and what you are saying and or asking that trigger their brain to do one of two things. Now, if you don't know the right questions and how to ask those with the right tone, it triggers their brain to react in a negative manner towards you. Meaning they throw out objections like, oh, we don't need that, or we're too busy, or, we've already looked at that before, or, it might be interesting, but maybe call us back in a week. I'm just too busy now. So it triggers them to try to get rid of you. Or if you know the right NEPQ questions to ask, like we've taught Shree and thousands of others at this point, I know we're that boring, but if you know the right questions to ask with the right delivery of those, it triggers their brain to become curious enough where they feel like they have to engage with you, that they want to engage with you, that they want to open up to you. Because if they don't, they feel like they're missing out on something that's very, very important. Okay? That's why we call it the engagement stage of the first part of the sales process. So you started to get that down that we taught you because we wrote out your sales structure. We tied NEPQ into what you sell. And by the way, what do you sell? I don't think I've ever told anybody on here. I mean, I know, but what do you sell?
I sell B2B software to financial services, and that software is specifically cyber software.
Okay, so so in the B2B space, you sell cybersecurity software to banks, right? Now,
Correct.
what type of banks are you working with that you talk to?
I'm working with all types of banks. I mean, they could be as large as Bank of America, which is the 5th largest bank in the world, or they could be a fintech neobank that you open up digitally on your phone, like Borrow Money or Chime, or they could be a small credit union. So
okay, so you speak to some very high-level decision makers. Okay, so they're they're a very sophisticated buyer. They're not dumb, and these are pretty sophisticated people. Now, when you first start out your sales conversations, what's some of the first connecting questions that you typically use for your sales process? I think everybody's dying to know.
It's something very simple as, what are you hoping to get from this call? Or,
yeah. So what's your first words out of your mouth on that call? Do they book on your calendar, or is it more of a cold? It's more of they book on your calendar, right?
It depends. It's a combination of inbound versus outbound. If it's inbound, then I do ask them, what prompted them or what was it of interest to them that, wanted them to take the call. If it's more out, yeah.
Why do we have you do that on an inbound call? Now, that's not your first connecting question you'd ask, but why is that one of the connecting questions we taught you how to use on your sales structure that we wrote out?
Because it reminds them of for me, it reminds them of their situation that they need to make a change and how painful their current circumstances.
Yes. Yeah. Do you see how that works? Okay.
Yeah.
So it reminds them of why they even booked the call in the first place. And connecting questions that we've taught Shree and our other clients take the focus off you and puts it on who? Your prospect, right? Because you want the focus to be more on them, not on you and your agenda. Now, guys, I noticed some of you guys are asking for a link for our private Facebook group called Sales Revolution. Chris or Erica, if you could post a link to the Sales Revolution Facebook group here in the comment section, they'll post that in here in the comment section. You just click on it to join. There's a couple question survey that we ask so we know what industry you're in and what you sell. Gives us a little bit more information about you. And you can join the Facebook group where I go live 4 to 5 times a week, along with other sales trainers we have in the organization to teach you more skills. Now, let's talk about after you're connecting questions, okay, that you asked to take the focus off you and you put it on them. You then go into your situation questions because you have to find out. You have to find out what their current situation is. Like, what is their current situation or current state? Now, what type of decision makers are you typically talking to on that call?
So it could be, usually it's the business decision maker on that first call. The technical decision maker or someone like at the C level comes in a bit later. So it's someone who's going to drive the engagement from a business standpoint and make the case of why we need this type of product within our organization.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're in a B2B complex selling environment, according to Forbes, I just read an article a few months ago, in 2020, on average, in most organizations, unless it's a small mom and pop company, especially in a bank, you're going to have about 6.8 decision makers. So about 7 people that are ultimately going to decide that. Some organizations have more. So we have to understand how to navigate our way through that organization if we're selling B2B, or you're just dead in the water wasting your time. What's one of the situation questions that you ask that's very important?
So I try to keep it high level. I try not to go too specific because what I've learned is the higher level I keep it, the more answers I'm going to get from them because I don't corner them into a specific question. So one of the situation questions that I ask right now is, how does your fraud stack or how does your fraud ecosystem look like today? Or what does it look like today?
Can you describe to me kind of what what is it, your fraud stack? Is that what you say?
Yeah, fraud ecosystem, fraud stack.
So Jana, can you describe to me possibly what your current fraud ecosystem looks like, just so I have a better understanding, if that's okay? Right. So see how we kind of we massage that a little bit, rather than saying, hey, can you tell me what your fraud ecosystem is, where it's more blunt. It's like, can you, do you mind describing to me what your current fraud ecosystem looks like? Just so we have a better understanding. See how we did that little verbal pause in there that kind of makes it conversational. Because if we just ask situation question and they answer, situation question and they answer, situation question and they answer, it's almost like you're an FBI interrogator. And a lot of people are going to push back to that, especially A-level type of people that you're talking to, right?
Absolutely. And that's the trick, Jeremy. And this is why I'm still learning, and I'm learning from the best, who is you. You got to make it conversational, right? And so if you make it look like a two-sided engagement, a sales engagement, they're already going to have that resistance and they're not going to open up to you from the beginning. You're going to have to work a lot harder for them to open up.
Yeah. And if they don't open up to you, there's no sale, because if they never open up to you, everything's surface level. There's no emotion that you bring out of them, no pain. You can't help them relive their pain. You can't help them find out problems that they have that they don't know they have. So it makes you look far less valuable in their eyes. So if we just ask surface level questions and we don't know how to clarify and probe at the right times with the right delivery, you're literally missing half of the sales you could be making and making way less money. Now, after you get through their situation questions, you find out what their current situation is. You're then asking them, you're going into like your problem awareness. And problem awareness questions help the prospect and you, more importantly, the prospect, see what problems they really have that they might not know they had and how that's affecting them. Like, and what are the root causes of the problem? Like, how is the problem affecting them? What's a problem awareness question that you typically ask your prospects on that first call?
It always follows the general language of, hey, so do you like the type of check that you have in place as you bring in new customers through your sales funnel or through your enrollment funnel?
Yeah. So why do we want to say, so do you like the current process you have when you blah, 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 blah? Now, why would we want to ask them if they like it? Now, notice how I did that. I didn't say, do you like the current process you have in place for your current enrollment process? Like a robot, like I'm reading a script. I'm going to make it conversation. So So with this process that you've had now at the bank the last 3 or 4 years, do you like the process you have now for enrollment? See, I'm asking like I'm concerned. Does that make sense? Like I'm skeptical. I'm concerned there. Now, they're either going to go one of 3 ways, which it doesn't matter with NEPQ. They're going to say, yeah, we actually like it. Or, well, I mean, yeah, or they're kind of like in the middle. We call that hem and haw. Or they're going to say, no, I don't like it all. Or no, we don't really like it because of this. Now, let's say that they come back and they say, well, we like it. It's not been bad. What do you then ask?
Well, I probe a little bit and I say, okay, well, what do you like about it? And then they tell me. Yeah. And then if I'm getting consistently like, yes, we like it, then I go into my 2 truths.
Yeah. And then so you're just gonna agree with them, like, oh, okay, what do you like about it? What do you enjoy? Now, why would we want to find out what they actually like about what they already have?
So in my mind, what that does is it reinforces when it comes time for the transition stage of explaining what you do, you could actually reinforce that for them.
That you have the same things as well, right? Like it's part of your solution. Okay. And it also shows them that you're non-biased, that you're just trying to see if you can help them, right? You're not like overly assumptive, like, oh, that company sucks, and let me tell you how much better we are. But because that's just going to get you thrown out of the room in B2B and B2C. It doesn't matter. Now, so let's say that they come back and they tell you what they like. We asked what's called a 2 truths question, which you wrote out for your sales structure. Let's hear how that. What do you say with that? How's your 2 truths question work? I know everybody's dying to know.
Yep. So so George, it seems that things are going fairly well for you. Given what you have in place for fraud. Is there anything that you would want to augment or make better in the way you're currently set up today?
If you could.
If you could.
I like that. Now, do you see how we specified that for your industry? Okay. Mm-hmm. Ron, I mean, to me, it sounds like things are going fairly well with what you already have. Is there anything you would, I guess, want to change or augment and make better if you could?
Yeah. And when we wrote out our sales structure for my specific industry, we actually emphasized the word augment, because if you're talking to Bank of America or Wells Fargo or one of these big banks, they're not going to rip whatever they have out right now and just put you in, right? So to them, that means like, I need to change something. So the way we phrased it, it's a little bit more subtle. Like, what would you augment or enhance with what you have going on now? Yeah,
because their biggest concern is, even if your solution is much better, their IT people are going to have the concern like, oh my gosh, it's going to take all this work to change this, rip it out, relearn it. Is it really worth it?
100%.
But you see how we're doing that in B2B? But if we say the word, anything you would, I guess, augment about what you're doing or possibly enhance if you could. Now that means something completely different, like make better what they already have. Now, when they tell you, oh, well, if we could, we would do this, what does that give you at that point?
Well, then you could act. Now you've identified some pain issues that they might have.
You've identified a problem.
That's your opportunity to probe and clarify and see what impact that issue has had.
So now you're right here. You found out their current situation, their current state. Okay. You're in your solution awareness questions, you're going to find out where they want to be, their objective state or future state. But now when you ask that question, they tell you, well, if we can enhance this or augment this better in this, now it's starting to, there's a little gap there for them. It's starting, a little gap is starting to show like, oh, I haven't really thought about this that much, So a little gap has happened. And your questions, as you go through the engagement process, make that gap bigger and bigger and bigger. And it helps them feel more pain and relive the pain until that gap from where they are compared to where they want to be is so big that it creates massive urgency for them to want to do something about it and actually do that with you.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so that was a good problem awareness question. Now you get into your solution awareness question where you want to find out their objectives and where they want to go and even what they've done in the past about trying to solve the problems they just told you they had. What's one good solution awareness question that you use in your sales process?
So I like this one, and this is where our managers teach this to all those sales rep is try to understand is what is their utopia, right?
Yeah.
What would be their ideal criteria or their ideal universe when it came to this type of problem? So there's a lot of solution awareness questions I use, Jeremy, that I have in my quiver, but the one I like is, well, besides you wanting kind of X, Y, and Z, what would be kind of your ideal criteria when it came to this type of situation or this
And why do you want to ask that question to your prospect you're talking to?
Well, because then it fast forwards their mindset from where they are today to where they should be. Where life is perfect and unicorns are flying around and they could sleep 9-10 hours a day and not worry about anything.
Here's their current state. They just told you their objective state, where they want to be. And then there's this big gap in the middle of all these problems that you're helping them see that they have, that they didn't know they really had. And the gap is becoming so much bigger. Now they're telling you what their utopia is, what they would really want to happen once their problems were solved. And then we go right into a consequence question and we rip it away from them. You see how we do that? Oh my gosh, I have these problems. I didn't even know I had 20 minutes ago before I got on with Cherie. Then here's where I want to be. And now Cherie's like, wham, I'm going to take that away from you. And what does that cause them to do?
Urgency.
Pull you back in.
I need to get to that utopia now because this is what the consequence is if I do not.
Yes. What's a consequence question? Now, consequence question, we usually will only ask one, and it depends on your industry, okay? But a consequence question gets the prospect to question their way of thinking of what's going to happen if they don't do anything about these problems. If they stay in status quo, if they don't get money together to purchase your solution, if they just do nothing. What's a consequence question that you ask?
It's very simple. Have you thought about what would happen if you didn't do anything that prevented you from getting to this ideal state?
Yeah. And what did they say?
Well, you hear a wide range of answers, especially in my industry. And a lot of the people, that's where they get really kind of defensive and confused because then that's a realization for them. Like, hey, I really haven't done anything and I'm sitting on my butt. And if I don't do anything, that this is what's going to happen. So, usually I hear like, yes, we have thought about it and this is why we need to make a change now, or this is why we're looking. This is why we're talking to you. We're trying to figure out if your solution would fit into what we're looking for.
Okay, so it's important for you to do something. In another way, you can rephrase it. So what are the, I guess, ramifications if you guys don't do anything about this, though, and the situation gets worse? That's another one. Or what are you going to do, though, if you don't do anything about this and you keep having these same issues with your XYZ ecosystem for another 3, 6, or even 12 months from now?
Absolutely.
That's another powerful consequence.
And cyber attacks are something that everybody is afraid of. I mean, everybody knows what happened to that pipeline last week, and it was infiltrated by a bunch of hackers. And so your consequence question when it comes to hacking and cyber could even be like 2 words, like, what would happen if that attack happened again?
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
What are the ramifications if that attack happened again?
Exactly.
And that causes them to be like,
I bet you that gas, I bet you that gas company that got attacked last week will never, ever, ever get attacked again.
Yeah.
Given what happened to them, right? So that's how powerful the consequence questions can be if you've been following the dialogue the right way.
Yeah. And then you transition, right? You transition, then you feedback what they said they wanted. You go through your presentation about, here's your problem. Here's how we solve this problem for our clients. Here's a problem clients typically have. Here's how we solve it. And then at the end, after you've gone through all that, you ask, now typically with what you do in a B2B complex selling environment, you're not typically closing on that first call, right?
No, not at all. You want a smaller step to get another conversation with the decision maker, someone who else is going to be involved in
so in B2C, you're probably closing on the first call, the second call, maybe the third call. B2B could be multiple calls because you've got multiple decision makers. And this first one is more of a maybe below the C-level executive that kind of, can this person even help us, right? And if they feel like they can, then it progresses to a second call with usually a C-level person, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, are you
And
typically
so what I do, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for me is, I think you talked about it in one of your earlier trainings. My commitment is, well, with your permission, it seems like what we're talking about could possibly help you. Would it make sense to have another conversation and bring in person XYZ so we could have a more fruitful dialogue around what you may be looking for?
And what do they say?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yes. Do you see the difference in that? If Sri said, well, hey, I really like the conversation. Tell me, when can we get together with your boss and go over how we can do this for you and save you from all these problems? And you assume what would happen.
Exactly. I mean, they're going to say, well, they're going to just lie to you and say, yeah, sure, I'll get back to you. And you never hear from them.
Exactly. But when you say, John, I enjoyed the conversation, would it make sense for us to have another call or conversation with your director of X, Y, and Z in the next week or so to kind of go over more of the details about how we could possibly help? Would that be appropriate? It's going to be very hard for them. Like, nope, that would not be appropriate.
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
And so when I use that line, about 90% of the time, another conversation is scheduled right then and there. Let's open up our calendar.
Typically, like NEPQ, once you got into our advanced training, I know you went from like I said, 6,000-7,000 a month in commissions to over 50 grand a month in commissions. So well done. Making 70 grand a year is a lot less than $600,000 a year. So well done. Now, what has that done to your sales cycle, though? Has that sped up the sales cycle? Was it a lot longer before? Have you been able to shrink that down?
Oh, yeah. So what used to be a 9-month sales cycle typically is around 3 to 4, 3 to 5.
Does that make you more money and the firm more money?
It's been almost half. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the holy grail, right? Because B2B, because some of these cycles could be well over 2 years, but with this type of training, I've been able to get it down to about 6 months.
Yeah. And it's because it builds urgency in their mind that they need to do something about it now rather than kicking the can down the road. Because now they realize the ramifications and consequences if they don't do anything about it. Whereas before, it was never really brought to their attention. So they don't really care about it. So they just kind of throw you to the side, commoditize you, lower you down on price, and then take a year or two to decide after you chase them.
Right. Right.
All right. Cherie, any last words of advice for anybody watching this today? I know you've got an appointment here with a big bank in 5 minutes.
I do. Well, it's, I'll be honest, it's H&R Block right in your backyard, Jeremy, the big tax services provider. And we're going in there to talk about their cybersecurity situation right now after tax season. So that call's at noon. But I just want to say some parting words. I've invested a lot in education and training throughout the years. I have 2 Ivy League degrees. I am still paying debt down for those 2. And your training has given me the highest ROI in what I've invested in so far, hands down.
Well, more than Harvard?
Anybody? Yeah, well, Johns Hopkins and Harvard. So, I mean, if you think about those 2 schools and the price tag of those 2 schools, what I've learned from your training has far outweighed what I've learned at those institutions. And you are cheaper than those institutions, by the way. But the ROI has been material. It's made a difference in my life. So I'm very glad that I made it, and I continue to be a student of yours as long as I can be. And one day, I think we've made a promise. Next time I'm in Scottsdale and you're in Scottsdale, we're going to meet up for dinner or lunch or something.
We are. We're going to meet up for dinner and lunch. You're a good friend now, my friend. You're a great client. Thanks so much. Congratulations on your success. I mean, making 600 grand a year now in commissions, B2B. You got to make at least that if you live in California. You couldn't survive on less than that out there. Good Lord.
Nope.
All right, my man, go get H&R Block, close them down, tell them I said hi, and I'll see you soon. Thanks everybody for being on here. Thanks everybody. Tomorrow we will go live at 4 p.m. Eastern with a Q&A where you can ask me any questions you want. Thanks, Cherie. Thanks everybody for being on. Now, if you want more details about our training programs, how we can help you sell a lot more of your products and services, just like Cherie, just like we have for thousands of our clients, in the comment section, just post hashtag NEPQ, and either myself or someone on our team can message you more details about our different types of training programs. We have over 20, depending on your industry, how much you're making now in commissions compared to how much you really want to make. And we'll jump on and see if we can help you just like Cherie and others. Thanks for everybody being on. I'll see you tomorrow on the live at 4 p.m. Eastern where you can ask me any questions you want. Thanks, everybody.